14. Old messages. The memory is full. Please erase your messages. Message 1.
This is handset number 1 on the talk mode. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to vacate the studio now. Well, it's cold out here today. And I'm going to pass through to the other side of the room. And now I am almost as far as I can go. Now I'm as far as I can go, so it's still clear here that it's working well. These are 5.8 over 2.4 dual band, and I have found that the range on these is pretty decent, although the 2.4 definitely seems to cut out sooner than the 5.8, which is curious in regards to the properties of radio frequency signals. So I think it's probably just a bad antenna design or something like that. Okay, now I'm going to switch it to speakerphone. It's on the speakerphone now. It's got that glowing orange light near the button, which is neat. And I'm speaking at about the same volume and distance from the phone, just to get a comparison between the two pickups. And now I'm going to set it down on the table. I'm speaking right above the telephone and about a foot away. Now I'm going to start going back. Now I'm about 2 feet away from the telephone. And now I'm about 3 feet away from the telephone. And I can do this much easier now that I've moved some of this stuff near to the other location. I can just kind of walk across the room. Now I'm about almost 5 feet away from the phone. I could never go this far before because there just wasn't enough walking area. Now I am all the way across the studio room, which is probably about 6 to 8 feet. So if it was still picking up back there, then that's really incredible. I'm going to hang this up by putting it back into the base. So I'll take it off speaker first.
Message 2.
This is the second handset. This is a test first on the speakerphone. And now this is the test on phone mode. I'll hang this one up with the buttons.
Message 3.
What is that rancid odor?
Message 4.
Do you smell that skunk? Oh, it stinks so bad.
Message 5.
This call was for the goose guy. Honk.
Message 6.
Okay. This is the final testing message on these cordless telephones. This happens to be the blue handset. I am exiting the studio now, and I will traverse across the room to confirm that the range is correct. I'm as far as I can go now, so if it's still working, then it's working good. Okay, I will go back into the recording studio room now, and I'll close the stupid squeaky door. And I'm going to switch the phone to the speaker phones. Okay, now it's on to the speaker phone, and I'm speaking at about the same distance and volume as I was before. Now, there's been some debate about the speaker phone testing. Last time I put a piece of cardboard down on the table, and I was informed by that letter H, or the H, or the spade, that was not adequate, and that the piece of cardboard was not hard enough. Now, I have some tiles, as he suggested, but they're very small. They're like accent ones that you put on the wall, not, like big floor tiles. So I can't do that, but I do have a piece of wood, which I am getting out as I record this. And I'm going to place the wood onto the table. First, I'm not going to place it onto the table. And I'm going to put the handset down. Okay, now the handset is standing up on the table on the carpet, and this is what the volume and clarity sounds like as it's on the carpet. Okay, now I'm going to put the wood down, and this wood is pretty large, and I just put the phone down onto the wood, and I'm trying to speak at about the same volume and distance as I was before, so that we can get a good sample of the quality. Now, I don't think this makes a big difference. At least with the cardboard it didn't. And I think the cardboard is going to be reflecting enough audio that it probably wouldn't make that much of a difference compared to the wood. Anyways, we're going to try it and see, because sometimes I'm wrong. So now I'm moving further away from the phone. It's still on the piece of wood. Right now I'm about 2 feet away from the telephone. I'm going to keep going back, and I'm going to go back about as far as I can. I can go pretty far now because I've moved a lot of the stuff to the other location. So now I'm all the way across the room, and this is still with the wood. I'm going to take the wood away now. I'm going to put the phone back onto the carpet. Okay, the phone is back on the carpet now. I almost dropped the wood. Now I'm going to start moving back. Right now I'm at about that 2-foot mark, and I'm going to keep going back. I'm still traversing backwards from the telephone, and I don't expect that we're going to hear all that much of a difference, but maybe we will. Right now I'm all the way across the room, so if it was still picking up all the way back there, that's a really good pickup. And there may be some background noise because the heater is running. Over and out.
Message 7.
Record this message and I'll get back on the video. Okay, it's already been recording, but this will be the testing message from this AT&T 9050 cordless telephone. Looks like the testing machine is still recording, so this must be working to some extent. I'm going to exit the studio now, and I will traverse across the room to see how good the range is. I'm fairly certain this is only an analog or Anatan model, so the coverage may or may not be that good. Okay, I'm all the way across the room now. I don't hear any static on the handset, but it could just be too quiet to hear. Okay, I don't know why the indicator light is so bright on the handset, but yet it's almost invisible on the base unit. Okay, I'm back into the studio now, and I'm going to hang it up now.
Message 8.
So, okay, this is the testing message for the VTech 910 ADO 900 megahertz analog cordless phone. I don't know how many channels it has, probably 40 or 25. I recall this telephone having a pretty good range the last time I used the other one, so I suspect it's perfectly clear down here. I'm all the way across the room now, so it's still clear, then it has a good range. Okay, I'll go back into the studio now, and I will close the squeaky door. And I want to change the channel. Sometimes this causes the message to end, but I'll change the channel so we can try to hear what that sounds like. Just changed it once. So again, third change. Now I'm going to hang up by putting it back into the base.
Message 9.
There'll be a hang up from the buttons.
Message 10.
This is handset number 1. That sure is a shame about the buttons on the other one. I don't know if that's going to be worth repairing. That's kind of a complicated repair. I've exited the studio and I'm traversing across the room now. And right now I am as far as I can go, so if it's still clear, then the range is pretty decent. Now I'll switch over to the speakerphone. Okay, and I'm talking at about the same volume and distance away from the phone as I was before, so that's the comparison of the talk mode versus the speakerphone. Now I'm going to put it down on the table. and I'll get the piece of wood out, and I'll put that down on the table in case this makes a difference. I'm still not convinced that it does, but I have not tested it satisfactorily yet. Okay, the handset is on the wood now, and this is with the handset standing up, and I'm speaking right over it, and I'm going to start going back from the phone. I'm about 3 feet away from the phone now. I'll go back a little further. I'm about 4 feet away from the telephone. Keep going back. Now, all the way across the room. This is about 8 to 10 feet. Actually, I can measure it. I've got a measuring doodad here to see what it is. I don't want to be inaccurate, provide misleading information. Okay. Oh, it's actually more than that. It was 11 feet. I'm speaking 11 feet away from the telephone right now. A lot further than I thought it was. Okay, so that's that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the handset on his back so that it's facing upwards. And that's how I tend to use the speakerphone, because you can hear it better. The sound reflects off the table. So now I'm going to move back again, and I suspect the pickup won't be quite as good because now there's no sound reflecting off the table. So I'm about 3 feet away now. The battery's giving out. 4 feet. Is it still on speakerphone? No, I switched over to phone. All right, I'll do this test on the other one. I'm going to hang this one up by putting it back into the cradle.
Message 11.
Okay, this is test number 2. Just put it on speakerphone, and this is carrying over from the other message. I'm going to start moving back from it now with the phone facing upwards. Right now I'm about 3 to 4 feet away from it. 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet. You can walk the same way I went before, so hopefully the volume is still working. Okay, and I'm going to go back to regular mode talk. Okay, it's on phone now, and I'm going to hang up with the buttons.
Message 12.
I think we're going to have a problem here because it was not dialing correctly. It would do a tone and then there was silence for a while. It was making like a channel changing, searching kind of sound. So this message very well may be just flooded with pure static. Or there could be some kind of interference because something isn't right with that, with the charging thing. Anyways, I'm across the room now. I don't really hear any static, but if there's static on the return side, I may not be hearing it that well, especially because the receiver cap is pretty much completely spoiled. Because at maximum volume, these phones are blaring loud, and I can hardly hear it as if it was on normal. Okay, I'm going to hang up now. Over and out.
Message 13.
It dialed perfectly normally that time. The cap is still spoiled, but it sounds a little bit clearer. I'm sure this message will now sound completely normal. Over and out.
Message 14.
Goose. 1, 2, 3. This is a test. I'm definitely having a voltage issue on my phone line. The voltage is kind of low because now that I'm using the what is this thing called, the simulation line thing down here, rather than the mains, the low battery indicator has illuminated when I picked up the phone, and it's illuminated at full brightness.
End of messages.